Hello. I love Super Nintendo. I eat, sleep and live everything SNES. I love Super Nintendo. Right, as promised, today is going to be slightly different. I'm breaking the mould today and I'm taking my first ever request for a review. What I'm going to do is choose a game that one of you has requested and we're going to review that. Not only that, but I'm actually dedicating this entire review to that one person. So, the winner for the first ever review request is Matty7Killer. Congratulations! The game we are looking at is a game that Matty7Killer has said that he had tons of fun playing as a child. A game that gives him real fond memories. Now, I know for a fact that in his prime, Matty7Killer was a Sega man. However, we're forgiving, and the console, at the end of the day, is irrelevant. I can't believe I just said that, but it's true for this game. So, we're going to take the game that Matty7Killer loved as a kid, and we're going to review it. This game is now going to become accustomed, linked with Matty7Killer. And the game that we are reviewing today is... Thank you. Are you sure? Yeah, but this can't be right. You're absolutely certain that this is the game that he's requested? Okay. At the end of the day, the fan has spoken. Thomas the Tank Engine and Friends is your typical side-scrolling shoot-'em-up. It follows the style of such classic Super Nintendo bad boys as Metroid and Contra. The story sees you play as Thomas, trying to take out as many robotically enhanced fat controllers as you can, while systematically working your way towards the hidden underground bunker where Annie and Clarabelle are being held. Okay, only kidding, but how amazing would that be? The actual game asks you how old you are, and then takes you on a trip as Thomas around a train track. Littered around the train track are a wealth of mini-games for you to play. And by a wealth, I mean 8. Here is where your first incredibly important decision comes into play. You can either choose to play the mini-games in any order, or, and here's the crazy part, you can actually do them in order by clicking on Thomas, who will then move around the track in a clockwise fashion. And you play the minigames in order! Whoa! The minigames are exactly the sort of thing that you might expect from a game called Thomas the Tank Engine and Friends. Not a Tin Can Alley shootout wannabe in sight, but instead you get treated to such wonders as sliding puzzles, stationary puzzles, and the option to race both Bertie the Bus and Percy the Green Engine. And no matter how hard I tried, you can't actually lose. We are rolling on a huge wealth of firsts for the Super Nintendo fanboy today. The next first is that today we're going to switch things around a bit. And instead of doing what rocks first and then what sucks, I'm actually going to flip it on its head and we're going to talk about all the awful things about this game, which, let's be honest, could take us forever. And then hopefully, by having a look at it and by stepping back and taking a real good glance at this game, we might actually find something that's any good. But don't hold your breath. What sucks about this game, I hear you ask? Everything. Absolutely, positively, everything. I don't think I have ever played such a boring and tedious game as Thomas the Tank Engine and Friends. I know what you're saying. Come on, it's for kids. Of course it's going to suck. No! If anything, kids need more exciting games than adults do, because kids have no attention span whatsoever. I was 7 years old when this game came out in 1993, and I am both insulted and disgusted to think that there was somebody out there who thought that my 7-year-old self would enjoy Thomas the Tank Engine and Friends. It's disgusting. One of the worst, tedious and most boring games I have ever played in my life. What's so awful about it? Well, let's take a more specific view and just have a look. First of all, the mini-games. There is no other way to explain it. They are the definition of rubbish. Sliding puzzles, jigsaw puzzles, switching train lanes, everything is just so easy and does not deserve to be part of a video game. If a child wants to do a jigsaw puzzle, then why not buy them a jigsaw puzzle? Real jigsaw puzzles are cheaper, more taxing, and actually contain some degrees of fun. Thomas the Tank Engine and Friends contains none of these things. Every single minigame is just far too easy, even for children, and requires no thought. At no point can you lose. They even make you win the races when you don't press anything. What message is this game sending out to children? Don't try in life, we'll still let you win. If it hadn't been for 1993 releases like Mortal Kombat, Mario All-Stars and Secret of Mana, which kicked children's butts, then we could have quite easily had a generation of children learning a harsh lesson about life once they reach maturity. Nice try, Thomas. The other problem with this game is that there is absolutely no variation. Puzzles and rubbish races. That's it. Once a child has completed every single puzzle and every single race, which, in all honesty, won't even take the smallest, most stupid of children long, there's absolutely no replayability whatsoever. How many times do you want to do the same Thomas puzzle? It's rubbish. Absolute rubbish. This is a complete waste of £40 on a cart back in 1993. 40 quid that would just get tossed aside. I'm not being funny, but you'd probably get more enjoyment from making a £40 bonfire and setting it alight. Because at least then you've got fire, and everybody loves fire. Nobody loves Thomas the Tank Engine and Friends. One of the other options in this game is to read along with a Thomas story. Great? No. Firstly, the stories go on forever. I'm fairly sure that the actual Thomas stories were never this long, and they load so slowly. Not to mention the fact that every now and then you get asked some pointless question that I just don't understand. What train is that? What train is what? What train is that? Ronald McDonald? I don't know. Who is that? Who's what? The Earl of Sandwich? Why can't Harold fly today? Oh, for God's sake. Too much Chinese food. Now that question, I have no answer for whatsoever. I just don't know. Why are these questions even in the game? If you're having to quiz children to make sure they're paying attention to your boring video game, do you know what you need to do? You don't need to make questions, you need to make your game more interesting. And finally, there is an option sometimes to have the story read for you. However tempting you may find this option, don't fall for it. The robotic voice is the most dull and aggravating thing ever. It goes so slowly, it cuts out at random intervals, and you really will struggle to keep your eyes open. forget this. In a really weird way, there is in fact one decent minigame in this collection of rubbish. One of the minigames expects you to build a new track to take Thomas to various places on the map. For example, I'm expected here to build a track from Thomas to the farm, then to the mill, and then to the station. Now don't get me wrong, this game is not LA Noire, or Tetris, or hell, even Pong. However, compared to the other rubbish minigames, at least this has got some kind of substance to it. It's still a bad minigame, but it's not absolutely mind-meltingly dull. Thomas the Tank Engine and Friends is a kids game, but it just goes to show that the developers had no idea what kids actually like. Developers keep assuming that if you put a well-known brand onto a video game, it'll sell. No, it won't. It didn't work for E.T. in 1982, it didn't work for The Simpsons Wrestling in 2001, and it doesn't work for Thomas the Tank Engine and Friends. The game is monotonous, boring, the graphics are awful, the sound is so robotic, so clunky, it just doesn't work, and there is absolutely nothing to enjoy about this game. Sure, one of the mini-games is bearable, but compared to the other mini-games, that's really not saying a lot. After all, it's like saying that a shark bite to the face is better than a shark bite to the groin. Well, yeah, of course it is, but it's still a shark bite. 8% for this absolutely dire shark bite. Well, there we are, Matty7 Killer. This review is for you. Now, everybody who sees it will always associate Thomas the Tank Engine and Friends, the Super Nintendo game, with you. Congratulations. I hope this brings back lots of memories for you, that you remember all the good times you had with the game when you were a kid. Frankly, I don't understand it because I find this game a complete waste of time, space and willpower. However, if it's what you enjoyed as a kid and if it's what gives you good memories, then you go for it, pal. To the rest of you, keep your requests coming in, because you never know, next time I do a request review, it might just be yours. Keep on watching. What do you mean there was a mix-up? Rock and roll racing?